These feelings can all coexist, and that is okay. You are not alone. The holidays bring up so many memories and pressures and expectations, whether from others or self-induced. So as we get into this episode, we're going to explore tools that can help you with different emotions that you might be feeling at this time. Welcome to Ebbs and Flows with Erin. In this show, we're getting real about navigating the ups and downs of life together. I'm your host, Erin, and we're ditching the pressure to have it all figured out along the way because honestly, nobody does. We'll explore all things healing, growing, creating, and connecting. And if you deal with anxiety, depression, being a highly sensitive person, or just feeling overwhelmed by life sometimes, I see you, and this show is for you. My intention with these conversations is simple: to leave you feeling empowered, validated, and most importantly, reminded that you are never alone, no matter where you're at on your own journey. Learning that we all have the power to heal genuinely changed my life. And the best part, healing does not have to be complicated. The smallest changes really can make the biggest impact, and it can be joyful, fulfilling, and something that we do together. So join me in getting real about what it means to heal. Thank you for being here, and now let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to Ebbs and Flows with Erin, or welcome back to Ebbs and Flows with Erin. Thank you for being here with me today, whether you're watching or listening. This is our special Christmas holiday episode where I want to acknowledge the array of feelings or emotions that you may be feeling during this holiday season. This season that is labeled the most wonderful time of the year. The reality is, it doesn't always feel that way, and there are a range of emotions that you can feel during this time that become heightened, whether it's joy or nostalgia, grief, sadness, loneliness, anxiety, stress. There is a wide array of feelings that can come with this season, and they are all valid. And my intention for this episode is to hold space for you, whatever you're feeling, and to share tools to help you navigate these emotions with care and compassion, most importantly for yourself, but also keeping it in mind with others, realizing that there can be a lot of emotional weight behind this season for people. And this topic is meaningful to me, especially because as someone who has lost many loved ones in the past 10 years, I've lost 9 loved ones. And this season, you always hear it's the most wonderful time of the year, and it's advertised and portrayed as this season where you're supposed to be feeling pure joy and happiness, and that is just simply not the case for so many people. Whether you have lost loved ones or you're grieving past situations, past relationships, past dynamics or environments, whatever it is, grief can be so heavy at this time of year. Things like loneliness, sadness, anxiety, and stress, because there are so many demands and expectations and pressures that come with this season as well. So the anxiety and stress can also be heightened at this time. It just became kind of wild to me, realizing how much these feelings are also perpetuated by seeing and feeling like you should be feeling joy and merry and bright at this time. But you can often have so many reasons to not feel that way. Especially with grief, it becomes a very nostalgic time. Nostalgia in itself, it's fun to be nostalgic, but when it comes to looking back and having nostalgia for what the holidays were like with loved ones, people that have now passed on and are no longer with you, the mix of nostalgia and grief, maybe loneliness, sadness, stress, it can be a lot, and I just really want to help validate that as much as I can with this episode and let you know that you are not alone no matter what you're feeling, and that you can still feel joy, happiness, gratitude during this season while also feeling those other feelings. Two things can exist at once. These feelings can all coexist, and that is okay. You are not alone. The holidays bring up so many memories and pressures and expectations, whether from others or self-induced. So if you're listening to this during the holiday season or on Christmas Day, just know that it is okay if you're not feeling entirely merry and bright. Don't beat yourself up, and know that your feelings are valid. So as we get into this episode, we're going to explore tools that can help you with different emotions that you might be feeling at this time. And before we start, I want to guide you through an emotional check-in exercise that does not take much time, but can help you get clear on what it is you're feeling, because first of all, it can be powerful just to be able to identify what it is that you are feeling and what's coming up for you. So I invite you to take a moment, pause, take a few breaths, and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What is coming up for me? Just sit with it for a moment or write it down. Either way, just give yourself a little bit of time to feel what is coming up. Oftentimes, we are kept so busy and so stimulated, overstimulated, that we don't even have the space or capacity or awareness to even know what it is we are feeling or what is coming up for us. And then it just builds and builds and builds. Okay, now I want to share some simple tools to help navigate specific emotions that can come up during the holidays. So the first one is grief or loss. So one tool here that has been extremely healing for myself is to have a ritual to honor your loved ones that have passed. This can look like genuinely anything you want it to look like. What is important here is the intention behind honoring and thinking of your loved one. By celebrating their memory, you are keeping their love alive and your connection to them alive. They are always with you. And another thing I do want to mention is, while that is, I believe, 100% true and healing and comforting in itself, also know and validate yourself by knowing that sometimes in grief, as it's always with us, it comes in waves throughout life. It's like that sprinkle on top of everything you do and experience in life. Grief is there, and what comes with that will ebb and flow throughout life. And sometimes it is also healing to just allow yourself to feel sad, upset, angry, wishing that they were still here. You don't have to always feel like you need to be strong or healed and not feel those emotions, no matter how long it's been since you've lost someone. Sometimes your feelings just need to be felt. And so while people will often say things like they're still with you, they are always with you, or you'll read things of the same sentiment to find comfort, and that is comforting, it is true, that is healing, it is also healing, and it's also valid to sometimes just let yourself feel those feelings and just sit with that for a little bit and know it's okay to feel the sadness, the anger, the hurt. Those feelings are all valid, and they will always be valid as you move throughout life. So again, your ritual to honor your loved one can really look like anything you want it to look like. It's all about the intention behind it of honoring their memory. But things that I have enjoyed doing or that I can suggest is lighting a candle in their memory, going a step further. Sometimes I will talk to the flame, and this might sound extra woo-woo to some, but I have found comfort in lighting a candle and talking to a past loved one through the flame. Try it, see how it feels. Take what you want from my suggestions here and leave the rest. You can create a memory ornament, so you can create an ornament for your tree or for your house that has elements that reminds you of your past loved one. You can even incorporate items that you might have if you were blessed enough to have items that were your loved ones. You can incorporate these items into the ornament or incorporate them into your home or into the holiday celebrations. On that note, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see this adorable cat Christmas light hand-stitched vest that I'm wearing. And this was one of my grandma's that has passed, and one of my favorite new traditions has been wearing this Christmas vest of hers for every holiday festivity, and it makes me feel like she is with me. Like, my connection to her is extra strong when I get to wear it. So incorporating items, if you're blessed enough to have them, of your past loved ones however you can. Maybe they had traditions that they would do during the holidays and you carry on their memory by incorporating traditions that they would do or that you would do at their house. Maybe you're writing a letter to your loved one that you've lost. There really is no wrong way to go about this, but your intention behind it is to honor and remember your loved one. Trust me, it will help you to feel extra connected to them and to their spirit. But again, at the holidays, these feelings of grief can really be heightened. But if you're a spiritual person, talking to your past loved ones, their spirit, daily, I was really struggling for a while. I had been experiencing what is called delayed grief, and the grief of losing several loved ones kind of all hit me at once at one point down the road, and I was really struggling with how to process it, and I felt almost overwhelmed with how can I respect and honor and remember all of these loved ones when I'm grieving all of them in different ways, but at the same time, and I want to honor all of them. Like, I was struggling with how to process all of my grief and keep the memory and the connection to them alive. And it really now has just become natural for me in my day-to-day to talk to my loved ones that have passed, to talk to their spirits, whatever you want to refer to them as, their spirits, your angels, your guardian angels. They really always are there for you. And as I said, it's okay to feel angry and upset about the fact that they are not Earthside, and they never will be Earthside again. I go through periods of feeling very sad and upset and a little bit lost about that. Still, when it comes to the longer that time goes on without having your loved one on Earth, sorry, getting emotional, but the longer the time goes on and the feeling of like, wow, like I really never will get to actually have a conversation with them, hear their voice, or like hug them ever again. That realization will continue to kind of slap you in the face at the most, what seems like random times throughout life, the longer time goes on. And just know that's okay. And one of my biggest lessons has been that joy and grief can coexist. You can feel joyful and grateful and enjoying your life while also grieving what once was and those that you've lost and wishing they were here. Okay, let's move along from grief. I'm sure I'll have more episodes that talk about grief. If that's something you want to hear about, let me know. I'll probably talk about it anyways, because it's one of the most complex, or is the most complex, emotions I have ever experienced in life. And I have a lot of compassion for everyone who experiences it, which is pretty much everyone on this planet. So I think it's something that needs to be talked about more openly and honestly about what that can look like. But anyways, moving along. Actually, okay, before we move along, another way that you can help with feeling grief during this season is to do a visualization of you talking with your loved one. So for this, you can close your eyes, take some breaths, imagine yourself sitting with your loved one somewhere where you felt most comfortable and cozy and connected to them. So imagine yourself sitting there with them. Maybe you're bringing up a memory of the past, or you can visualize this happening in the present. You're in a peaceful place with them, and you are sharing your feelings directly to them. Whatever comes up for you in how they are responding or behaving, acting or comforting you in this conversation, just let whatever is happening or coming up happen. Sit with it for a little while, and maybe you write down how you feel after. This can help you to feel connected to your past loved one and help to process the grief that you're experiencing. Give it a try and know that however you feel coming out of this is valid and okay. Okay, the next emotion I want to talk about that can come up during the holidays is loneliness. And I don't think this one is often acknowledged enough, that not everyone is surrounded by family during the holidays. So it is not always a time of connection for everyone. But I encourage you, if you are alone at this time, to maybe reframe it in your mind and think of it as an opportunity to fully dive into self-care. Make it all about you. Whether you are resting, you are laying in bed and watching a movie marathon all day, maybe you're doing something creative that you really enjoy that you don't often get the time to do. Maybe you're making a whole Christmas dinner just for yourself, and that's okay. Whatever you feel like you want to do, wake up that morning or during the holidays, wake up, ask yourself, what do I want to do today? What is going to make me feel good today? And do whatever that is. Maybe you're reflecting on your year and setting intentions for the new year, whatever you want to do. Creating traditions that you can do for yourself simply to make yourself feel good. Do that and don't feel guilty about it. But if you are at all able, even if it's not in-person connection, if you're able to text or call or have a FaceTime with someone, try to do that. It can be really easy to fall into staying secluded and not reaching out to people, but you're 99% of the time going to feel better after connecting with someone, a safe person, a loved one. Maybe there's community events in person or online, some sort of connection. I have talked about in past episodes how we literally require connection as human beings. But if you are alone during the holidays, just know that you are not alone. You're not the only person in this circumstance. It doesn't say anything about your value or your worth as a person. And there is no right or wrong way to spend your holiday season. Use this opportunity to put yourself first and take care of you and pour into yourself in ways that you might not have the space or opportunity to during most of the year. Okay, the next emotion I want to talk about that we can feel during the holiday season is overwhelm and anxiety. And I have talked so much about these on this podcast because I have so much experience with these emotions. And there's so much pressure, expectations, busyness that goes on during this season that it is hard to imagine these feelings not coming on at some point during this time. And it can start to feel like we are not in control and that there's no option to not feel this way. But the good news is that we do have options. And while we're not in control and we don't want it to be about control because we can't control everything, we can control certain things that can help us to feel more grounded at this time. So things like doing simple breathing exercises that you can do at any time, any place, will help to regulate your nervous system and shift you back into the rest and digest state and ground you in these times of heightened anxiety and overwhelm. So one simple breathing technique is the 4-7-8 technique, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and you breathe out for 8 seconds. Doing a few rounds of this will start to calm your mind and relax you and ground you, and again, shift your nervous system into the rest and digest state. And you can repeat this for as long as you need to ground yourself. There's also the physiological side, so you do a deep inhale and then one more sharp inhale, both through the nose, and then you exhale through thinly pursed lips through your mouth. You want to exhale for as long as you can and repeat that until you start to feel grounded. That is always a good option as well. There are many breathing techniques that you can use. Those two are quick, simple to do, and effective. So if you're at a gathering, an event, and you're starting to feel overstimulated, overwhelmed, anxious, stressed, you can excuse yourself to a quiet space. Often this ends up being the washroom because a lot of the time it's the one place you can get alone without people maybe asking questions or walking in on you. And take a few moments in the washroom and do some breathing exercises. Maybe you're doing some tapping on your chest, on the side of your temple, you're doing it on the side of your leg. Maybe you're shaking out your limbs and your body while you're doing some breathing exercises. Just taking a few moments to ground yourself is okay. Allow yourself to take time alone and to take care of you, because it's going to be extra important at this time to take care of yourself so that you can show up for and around others in a grounded state. And on that note as well, energetically visualizing yourself being shielded from the energy of others. Maybe you're visualizing a white light that is a shield around you, or that it's filling up your body. Maybe it's expanding around the room you're in, because you're inevitably going to be witnessing others feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed. And especially as highly sensitive people, it is easy to absorb the emotions, the feeling, the energy of others. But if we can practice some intentional awareness of that, and that we do not want to absorb the emotions of others, and shielding ourselves from taking in the energy of others, taking these micro breaks to regulate ourselves, having ourselves be able to present ourselves in a more grounded state, that energy is also, the good news is, going to rub off on others around you. So it doesn't just work one way where you only absorb the more heightened, anxious, stressed energy of others. It also works the other way. When someone's in more grounded, calm energy, that also rubs off on others and can help to ground the whole environment. So again, another reason to take care of yourself. It literally is helping to take care of others. And a lot of anxiety and stress and overwhelm leading up to events or gatherings, whatever it may be, during this season comes from expectations, a lot of which we place on ourselves. Yes, also are placed on us by others sometimes, but a lot of it is placed on yourself. So one helpful exercise to help release you of these expectations that tend to bring on the overwhelm and the stress and anxiety is to write down all the expectations you have for yourself, or the expectations you have in general for this holiday season, and then do an audit of the expectations that you simply cannot meet, or that are not in your control and are not your responsibility, and release what you think the holidays should, quote unquote, look like, and embrace what feels right for you. Often when it's actually written down and you can look at and see all of these expectations that you're holding for this holiday season, you will see just how unrealistic they are and how unimportant a lot of the time they are. And if you need to go a step further, write out what's the worst that's going to happen if this expectation isn't met. If I don't meet this expectation, what's the worst that's going to happen? This practice will help you to accept what is in your control and embrace that a lot of the time it's the small moments and the small things that actually bring the joy and the connection and the fulfillment during the holiday season, and it's not these big grandiose expectations that we hold. Okay, so these are challenging emotions that we've talked about so far. Of course, there are more as well, but joy. We want joy to be in the mix as well, and joy can coexist with any of these emotions. So how can we amplify our joy amidst the challenges or the more challenging emotions? The number one way is to practice gratitude. Gratitude is scientifically shown to help shift us into a more joyful, grounded, receptive state. When we can so easily fall into the energy of lack or scarcity, anxiety, grief, stress about so much and so many things at this time, shifting into gratitude and writing down at least 3 things a day that you're grateful for, you will see that you always have something to be grateful for. No matter what you're going through, experiencing, feeling, there is always something to be grateful for. And gratitude helps us find joy because it shows us that there is always joy to be felt and to be had, even if it's the small things like your warm drink that day, your coffee, the book that you're reading, someone was nice to you at the grocery store. It can be the smallest things, but seeing that you always have something to be grateful for is going to help lift your spirits, bring you back into the abundant energy, the abundant mindset, the grounded state that reminds you of what really matters in life, and that there is duality to life. While there are the challenging, harder emotions to deal with, there's also always the joy and the gratitude and the delighting in life available to us. So celebrating small moments, like I said, it doesn't always have to be these big grandiose things. You can be grateful for and find joy in the smallest of moments, the smallest of things. Acknowledging those helps to expand the things that you have to be grateful for and expand the joy that you have the capacity to feel. And yes, this can be a lot easier said than done. And you might be going through something where you think, well, that's easy for you to say when this and this and this and this is happening and life is kicking me in the ass and things have been really challenging. I 1000% empathize with this. All of these things are not necessarily easy to do or easy to lean into. And trust me, I have been there in dark, dark places and stuck in those places at times. And again, I'm only sharing things that I have found to actually tangibly be helpful to me in changing and improving my life, my mental health, my overall health and wellness, my lived experience on this earth. And it can take a lot of practice and time to get there. But I'm hoping that these things I've shared today are simple things that you can try incorporating when you find yourself dealing with these emotions, because I have found them to be helpful to me. And the greatest thing I ever learned is that healing and creating positive change in our life does not have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be these big, huge, challenging, complex changes. A lot of the time, it's in the simple, small things and the small changes and the shifts. So, all that to say, I do understand and empathize with that sometimes the advice, the tips, the tools can sound either easier said than done, or yeah, right, that's going to make a difference. But take with you what resonates or what you are curious to try, leave the rest, only sharing what has worked for me and in my experience and connecting with others, what has also worked for others. Okay, and finally, I just want to send out the reminder to still take care of yourself and indulge in self-care during the holiday season. We have to show up so much for others and around others. And as I said, when we are able to still take care of ourselves, first and foremost, again, it sounds cliche, and cliches are cliches for a reason, because people somewhere along the way figured out that they are true. But you have to take care of you in order to show up as your best for and around others, and then that rubs off on others. So taking care of you really is taking care of others, and it can be simple, small things like just taking a few moments a day to still move your body, or to sit in quiet, to do meditation, to journal, to rest, to do something creative, to connect with loved ones, to connect with a spiritual practice, to connect with your past loved ones, asking yourself each day, what do I need to take care of me today? And then delivering, however you can, that for yourself. Because in this season, it is so easy to get caught up leaving ourselves behind, and even simple things that can help regulate your nervous system, because everything we're talking about, like in most episodes here, all stems back to nervous system regulation, being able to shift in to the rest and digest parasympathetic mode more easily and more accessibly is the root of all healing and being able to create any change in your life, and especially at this time with all these heightened emotions and there's a lot going on. So making space to do even simple things to take care of you, you are allowed and worthy of doing so. Also on that note, boundaries are also going to be very healthy at this time. It is okay to say no to events, traditions, or gatherings that don't feel aligned with your needs. Maybe they once were and they no longer are. Maybe they never have been, but you've never felt that you are able to say no or to set your boundaries. Again, this is always easier said than done, but boundaries are healthy for everyone. They're healthy for you, and they are healthy and respectful to others, because even when you receive backlash from setting a boundary, and that can feel really shitty, and it can make you feel like you've done something wrong, possibly. Just know that you haven't, and whether people are receptive to it or not, or can see it or not, having boundaries that honor your needs is respectful to everyone involved, and you are valid in how you feel and what you want to say yes and no to. And over time, the more that you practice these, the easier it will become to set and stick to your boundaries. Okay, so we've talked about how a range of emotions can come up during the holiday season. It is not always the most wonderful time of the year, and no matter what you're feeling, your feelings are valid and worthy of acknowledgement. Taking even a few moments to feel what is coming up and acknowledge what's coming up for you each day is going to help keep you grounded in itself. Nostalgia and grief can be at an all-time high during this season, but doing things like rituals or something to honor your loved ones who have passed can help with this. Incorporating traditions or elements of what the holidays looked like in your past can help with nostalgia and grief. If you're spending the holidays solo, creating some sort of tradition that indulges in yourself and self-care for you, doing whatever makes you feel good at this time, and not feeling guilty for that, and knowing that you're not alone, and trying to make an effort to connect to someone at some point will be healthy. Utilizing breathwork exercises, nervous system regulation exercises, journaling to release expectations, practicing gratitude daily to enhance the joy and the gratitude you feel during this time when challenging emotions can take over, celebrating the small moments and the small things that bring you joy, setting your boundaries, sticking to them, and knowing that they are valid no matter how they are received. These are all things we've talked about today. Remember, the holidays are not about perfection, and we've talked a lot about perfectionism, especially in the truth about perfectionism and why self-compassion is the answer episode. So if this is something you experience and is heightened during the holidays, if you haven't listened to that episode, I invite you to do so or watch over on YouTube. But the holidays are really about connection, whether that's with others or with yourself, or even the memories of loved ones that you've lost. The true meaning and purpose of this season can so easily get lost. So I hope something in this episode helps you to ground yourself and come back to remembering what the purpose of this season is for you, and how can you make the most of it without leaving yourself behind and falling into a spiral of anxiety, stress, tension. So I want to leave you with a simple mantra that you can maybe come back to when inevitably these heightened emotions can come up during this holiday season. You can repeat this to yourself, you can write it down. I did share recently 10 affirmations to keep you grounded during the holiday season over on Instagram at Ebbs Flows 222, and I would love to hear what your favorite one is, so go check that out. If you have not, maybe there's one that's not there that you find useful at this time. I'd love to hear it. The mantra I want to share today is, I honor my emotions and give myself permission to navigate this day with compassion and care. I would love to hear about your holiday experiences or things that you have found to be helpful for you to stay grounded and get the most out of this holiday season. You can DM me over at ebbsandflows222 on Instagram, send me an email at erinebbsandflows@gmail.com, leave me a comment on YouTube, all the usual things. Most of all, thank you, if you're listening or watching, for letting me be a part of your holiday season. I really hope that something in this episode resonated and can be helpful to you during this time. And I most importantly hope that you feel validated in whatever it is you're feeling at any time during this season, and know that you are not alone. No matter how you're spending the holidays, you are not alone. I am sending a lot of love and gratitude, wishing you a lot of connection during this holiday season. Thank you for being here with me today, and I will talk to you next week in 2025. Bye-bye.